Welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast, where we talk with the people behind the current events and breakthroughs in brain implants in an understandable way, helping bring together various fields involved in neuroprosthetics. Here is your host, Laden Yurichev.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Neural Implant Podcast, sponsored by Iris Biomedical. Today's guest is Kirill Korotaev, and he is the founder of Purple Gaze, and they are an eye tracking company. They really work well for VR and making sure that you're looking at, they can decode what you're looking at. And I thought this was really interesting. It's not necessarily neurotech per se, but it very much enhances neurotech research, vision, psychology, clinical research as well. And we're going to get into that because that's a lot of what you do. That's a lot of the customers that you have. And then gaze interaction, which is something that I think is very interesting as well. So Kirill, pleasure to have you on the show. And do you want to introduce yourself a little bit in your company?
Great. Thank you, Laden. Sure. I'm a co-founder and CEO of Purple Gaze. We are a team of cognitive and computer scientists who are building the AI platform for collecting high-quality data from the human brain using eye movements. The pupil is the terminal of our brain. We are not measuring neuronal activity directly. Rather, by precisely tracking the movement of the pupil and changes in the pupil size relatively to where the person is looking, for example, on the computer screen, we can reverse engineer what's happening in the brain and obtain deep insights into human cognition.
Interesting. I've heard that if you love something, then your pupils dilate, they get bigger. So you can also decode if somebody's in love with whatever they're looking at on the screen?
Yeah, sure. It's pupil size is correlates of arousal. So I guess love is a high arousal state.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, definitely. And the eyes move so fast that many times we can't even see all the movements. And it can be these subtle cues. So I think this is really cool. So what got you into this? How did you get into eye tracking and I guess generally into neurotech?
Yeah. So in 2015, I had a master's degree in management and a corporate job in marketing, but I wasn't entirely satisfied with my life. I was heavily influenced by popular science and sci-fi books that I was reading at the time. To name a few, Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, and also Harry Potter and Methods of Rationality by Eliezer Yudkowsky. And I decided that in order to maximize my positive impact on the world, I should either learn programming to contribute to the development of AI, or I should study neuroscience to advance our understanding of the human brain. So I moved from St. Petersburg to Moscow and enrolled in the Cognitive Sciences and Technologies master program at the Higher School of Economics, where I got an opportunity to engage into both. Use neuroimaging techniques such as MRI and TMS to collect the data from the brain, and build deep neural nets to model the visual cortex. For those who are not familiar with HEC, the name might be misleading. It's actually not limited only to economics. It was also top 1 Russian university in the neuroscience field. However, I was really lucky since the timing of my studies couldn't be any better, because just recently, all of the best professors were pressured to resign because of their liberal political views, either support for Navalny or opposition to the war in Ukraine. And one of the professors was world-renowned expert in neuroeconomics and the founder of the Cognitive Science Institute, Vasily Klysherev. Anyways, after my graduation from HEC, I started having conversations with my former supervisor, Dr. Joe McInnes, a Canadian professor who is an expert in visual attention, about eye tracking technology. Both of us had witnessed tremendous progress in artificial intelligence, and especially in computer vision over the last few years. And at the same time, we resorted to using bulky and sluggish lab equipment that costs like a luxury car and has a really high learning curve. And basically, our core origin idea was that why can't we combine two of these parallel worlds together? There wasn't any significant innovation in the eye tracking technology for the last 15 years. And we thought that if we use modern computer vision and image processing techniques, we could make it much more accessible and easier to use, which in turn would open up new applications and create whole new industries.
Yeah, very cool. I've seen a lot of these kind of studies, and it's funny. They often show a photo, and then you can see like almost red dots of hundreds of people where they're looking at, what exactly they're looking at in the photos. And many times it has funny results. So yeah, this is something that I think is very, very expensive, very difficult. And again, with technology, it maybe gets better. But yeah, is this something you said 2014, right? Is when you were starting this? What's the difference between then and now in terms of the technology? And you've now improved this system to be much cheaper than a luxury car?
Yeah, I can talk about movement science for hours, but I guess we're limited in time. I first just focus on two basic types of eye movements. So fixations occur when we are trying to focus our attention on a particular object of interest. And then we try to locate it within the fovea, which is an area at the center of the retina, which has the highest density of cone photoreceptors and hence the best spatial resolution. Saccades are rapid eye movements from 20 to 100 milliseconds that happen when we make a transition from one object of interest to another. So saccades are transitions between fixations. And there is a blind spot in each of our eyes. There are no photoreceptors there because of the optic tract, which goes all the way from the back of our eye to the visual cortex. But at the same time, there are no gaps in our vision. The picture of the world that we see is always complete. So how is that possible? Because we always make these saccadic eye movements and actively build the representation of the world around us. So before purple gaze, eye tracking market has been very polarized. On the one hand, there were cost-effective systems that could cost as low as $100, and they are limited to only fixation data, which is completely fine, by the way, if you only want to know where the person is looking, and it works well for the applications in marketing, UX, and gaming. They're pretty easy to set up, but totally incapable of providing deep insights into the brain. On the other hand, there were prohibitively expensive systems priced up to $60,000 US, which are like really large and hard to operate machines. And the phase one of our plan was to create the best eye movements research tool out there that would combine the ease of use and portability of those low-end systems with the data quality and richness of high-end systems. We believe that there can't be any significantly impactful innovation without research, and we were simply not satisfied with any of the existing tools. So first we had to build an ultimate eye movement research tool that we would love to use ourselves. So what is also different from our competitors is that we are aware that eye movement research is a pretty niche field. However, if you zoom in, you would see that there is actually a lot of variability inside this field going on. Pretty much every lab has their own custom pipeline for experiment design, data collection, and analysis. So instead of trying to provide a one-fits-all solution, how everyone else is doing, we decided to give the researchers freedom to choose the building blocks for their experiments. Our Purple Gaze Lab software goes together with what we call an EDK, or Experiment Design Kit, which is basically a set of Python libraries developed by us that can serve as building blocks for their experiment. So if our customers are not satisfied with our algorithms, for example, for calibration or pupil detection, they can substitute it with their own in a simple fashion.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's really cool. People basically have the power to tweak it. It's based on an open source platform, right? So it's a little bit more free than most other things, probably. Hey guys, just a quick pause to talk about our show sponsor, Iris Biomedical. Iris Biomedical provides a portfolio of neural sensing and simulation platforms and components to accelerate early-stage medical device companies through preclinical and early feasibility studies. Iris is an ideal partner for companies with limited budgets or resources to invest in developing a new platform from the ground up. Their experienced engineering team, in-house cleanroom facilities, and ISO 13485 certified quality management system allow for prototyping and early-stage commercial production. Be sure to tell them you heard about it on the Neural Implant Podcast. That'll really help us out. Thanks. Now, back to the show. So what are you doing right now? What's the company doing right now? And what are you planning on doing next?
Yeah, so right now we have a core team of 6 people. My co-founder, Dmitry Mikushin, is an expert in high-performance computing and an ex-NVIDIA engineer. And he's leading the team of our 3 engineers. We have 2 PhDs and a serial medtech entrepreneur on our advisory board. We have our center of operations in Amsterdam. We've graduated from Health Inc. Accelerator, which is a collaboration between Startup Bootcamp and Amsterdam Health and Technology Institute. We've just launched in the United States. Communication Disorders Lab at the New Mexico State University has recently acquired 2 of our FOXIE systems to conduct research on eye movements during speech and speech comprehension. So you should expect first preprints featuring our system in about half a year. So now we're looking for more research customers for FOXIE to further expand in Europe and the US. And then we're going to start phase 2 of our plan, which is about building various applications on top of our research platform. So, for example, signature abnormalities in eye movements are neural biomarkers of multiple brain-related disorders, such as Parkinson's disease and multiple sclerosis. So clinical researchers and also other companies can build their assessments on top of our platform to capture this digital biomarker data. And the phase 3 of our plan can also happen on parallel with phase 2, is to partner with other companies in the neurotech ecosystem and combine multiple sources of information, because there is more value in simultaneously acquiring eye tracking data with EEG, for example, MEG or MRI. So we're open for partnerships, and if some neurotech CEOs are listening to us right now, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's really exciting. And the fact that you're helping out research and you're going to be making an impact pretty quickly. And I don't think we've talked about, what does FOXIE look like? When I think of eye tracking, I don't know, for some reason I think of a wearable thing that is used for VR, but that's not what your device looks like. What is the footprint of your device?
Yeah. Our first product, FOXIE, is a screen-based eye tracker. It estimates the gaze direction of the user relatively to the computer screen. And it is a portable USB device that could be connected to any modern computer. So it's a cross-platform, and you can take it outside the lab and carry it in a small suitcase. And at the same time, it can track gaze direction at the sampling rate of 600 hertz.
Yeah, so it's like a webcam almost, right? It's
a multi-camera system.
This is really interesting. So now I guess to the sponsored part of the episode. The sponsor of this episode is Iris Biomedical, and they do contract design, and especially for neurotech companies. When you haven't, I don't think you've worked with them.
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah. So when you take everything off the shelf, or have you been able to build with people, or take some already existing things and build off of that?
Yeah, basically we are not building like camera chips by ourselves. We just assembling different components in a unique way. Right now we are doing it on our own hands. But once we get to the point when we have mass production, then in that case, yeah, it might be interesting to collaborate with companies like Iris.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. And in my work as well, I found that it's much easier to take something off the shelf and something you're building off the experts and basically the knowledge and wisdom of some other team. So this is exactly what Iris does. And they have a lot of experience in stuff like IPG development and electrode development. Yeah, definitely check them out if this is something that you're interested in. Well, Kirill, this has been really interesting. This might be maybe an uncomfortable next bit, but I do want to ask, you said that you're from Russia. And then previously when we've talked, you said that this Ukraine thing has been affecting you. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, it's not have affected me personally, but of course, a lot of my friends in Russia and Ukraine. But yeah, I'm still in a very privileged position here in the Netherlands, and yeah, I mostly empathize towards people who are in Ukraine.
But you were saying that you were affected with the sanctions and everything like this too, right? It's been a pain in the ass.
Yeah, so far, at least from what I've seen, the sanctions mostly hit the regular Ivan, but not the people in power. I know maybe it would change with the new packets.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate. So I guess the point was like that it's also bad for the normal Ivan in Russia as well. Yeah. For the last question, I like to ask this sometimes in a hypothetical world, if you had unlimited funding, what would you go after and what would you throw all your resources at in your company right now? So I guess what's the most important challenge right now?
Yeah, great question. Yeah. Right now, we are mostly providing tools for other researchers, but it would be great if we could also make our own research as well. Then, of course, taking the eye tracking technology outside from the lab and into the real world is what we also are after. And yeah, just creating the ecosystem of neurotechnology devices of the future to benefit humankind.
Yeah, very cool. Kirill, I think this has been excellent. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention?
I don't think so.
Excellent. So if people want to find you, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you can either connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me an email at k@purplegaze.io.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Ladan. It's been a pleasure.
Hope you enjoyed the show and were able to learn something new, bringing together different fields in novel ways. Until next time on the Neural Implant Podcast.